Because with manifestation, sometimes things can just show up out of the blue, and it's so beautiful when those synchronicities happen. But sometimes it's actually our actions that are the external representation of us being the energetic match for that frequency, right? So it's not just even thinking on that energetic frequency, but it's like the action that you take. You're reflecting, yes, I am that person through who I'm being. And then what typically happens when you start to show up as that person and take the action, what starts to happen is a lot of limiting beliefs come up and limiting emotions come up. The subconscious mind doesn't actually know the difference between real and imagined. So you can normalize it within your subconscious mind to the point that your subconscious mind feels like you've already been doing it for days, weeks, months. And then you'll start to actually feel like it's easier to make the decisions that align to that new life than the old life. I have a 5-step manifestation process that I've used over the years that's helped me manifest so many different things and help my clients as well. And so how I developed it was literally anytime I would manifest something, I think back to myself and say,
Have you ever wondered if you have the power to transform your reality with just your thoughts and beliefs? In this captivating episode, we dive deep into the transformative world of manifestation with expert Reese Evans, who shares her powerful 5-step manifestation process. This process has revolutionized not only her life, but also the lives of her clients. The journey begins with setting a clear and guilt-free goal, embracing the belief that wanting more is a path to creating and giving more. Reese emphasizes the importance of subconscious reprogramming, using tools like single belief change to normalize seemingly attainable goals. As limiting beliefs and emotions surface, Reese advises on becoming aware of and releasing these resistance through processing and letting go. She underscores the importance of maintaining an expectant state, living as if the desired outcome is already on its way. Reese shares how this daily practice extends beyond morning rituals, influencing every moment of the day. It's now time to enjoy this wonderful, beautiful soul. Enjoy. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and depending on which side of the globe you are sitting on at this very moment, we have another amazing guest for you. We have the beautiful Reese Evans. Welcome to the show.
thank you so much for having me, Catherine. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited and I can't wait to unpack some of the topics that we are going to talk about today. So, before we get started, we always love to ask our guests what inspired you to do what you do today?
Yeah, it was definitely my own personal development journey. I grew up always feeling very different from everyone around me. Growing up in with a single mom as my mom and looking at my friends thinking, why do they get to have the perfect family and I don't? And being one of the few people of color at my school too growing up. And then when I was a teenager from ages 10 to 16, my mom was in a very abusive relationship. And so just being in a very chaotic, very traumatic home, just again, always feeling different, always feeling like maybe I'm bad and I deserve all of these things happening to me. And my mom ended up getting breast cancer. And for her, that was her final straw to leave that relationship because she knew she had to, be around for me and my little brother. And we moved in with my grandma, who's literally my angel. And we would have otherwise been homeless if it wasn't for her. And so even after that, being in a safe place, being in my grandma's home, knowing I was safe, I still had so many lingering negative thoughts inside. It was like the chaos that I lived in for 6 years now became my inner dialogue, and I was my own biggest bully. I was so mean to myself. I had so much self-hatred. And what I didn't realize was my inner dialogue was actually reflecting in my external world. So I also had a lot of toxic friendships. I had so many, like a string of jobs that I always just felt like I was treated like a number. And I remember at one of those jobs that I would cry on my way to work because it just didn't feel aligned. I remember talking to friends there who would say things like, I really want to be an artist, but I could never do it. I really want to do this, but I can never do it. And I could see their potential. So I'd want to shake them and be like, of course you can do it. You're just telling yourself no. And after having this conversation over and over again with so many people, I realized what if I'm telling myself no? What if I actually have more potential and the world's not telling me no or putting me in a box, but I'm keeping myself in this box? So I started this little thought experiment of saying yes to myself, and I started setting bigger goals for myself that I didn't know how I would achieve them. And I started to be nicer to myself in the mirror instead of looking in the mirror and saying, "You're ugly, your skin's this, you have nothing to wear," da, da, da. And my life actually started to change on the outside. And just because I was loving the changes that I was creating in my own life from being kinder to myself and having a morning ritual and making healthier food choices, I decided to start a blog, not knowing where it would go and having so much fear around judgment of, putting my thoughts online. So I had to work through that a lot because I'd always been a shy person. But this little blog, it started to get a lot of appreciation, and people would say, "This has helped me change my life. This helped me tap into my creativity. This helped me leave an abusive relationship." And so I realized, okay, if I'm doing this quote little blog a few hours in the evening and it's helping this many people, imagine what would happen if I actually could do it full time. And so I realized it's not greedy for me to want to make money from it. It's actually my responsibility because, we need to pay our bills and eat and do all the things. And so I started looking for ways to, share my message of saying yes to yourself with the world and turn it into an online business instead of a blog. And so one of my first products was, it was called Good Morning Beautiful, and it was a morning email where I would email people the same type of morning rituals that I did. And then that transformed into a membership site. Then I discovered coaching. I didn't even know what coaching was at the beginning, discovered coaching and started coaching people. And over the years, people are asking me about my coaching techniques that I had learned and I was using. And now I have a coaching certification as well as so many different mindset programs to help people tap into saying yes to themselves from their mindset and lifestyle to financial abundance.
Wow, that's a lot. And I love
It's a
the way
lot.
that
Yeah.
that is a lot. I was like, wow, how do you find the time
It's
to
a
do it
journey.
all? You must be very good with time management. So saying yes, I've practiced saying yes to that.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's resistance when I'll go, because I always say, just say yes, Catherine, work out how to do it later. And then I'll
Uh-huh.
go and go, yes. And then there's this real, oh my God, what have I done? And I do believe, and it's funny because I just did a video on it not that long ago. People like, I'm waiting for the sign. I'm waiting for the sign from the universe before I do something. It's like, no, you act on it, say yes,
Yeah.
and then the universe will support you.
Yeah.
So, what do we do when there's this level of resistance? Like, I'm sure you've experienced it because you've obviously built a business around it. So, when there is a level of resistance, how do you just push through, just go yes anyway?
Yeah. So I would say you wanting it is the sign, right? One of my favorite manifestation teachers actually is the legendary Bob Proctor. And he would always say the only prerequisite is, do you want it? So your want is your internal GPS leading you to where you want to go and what is meant for you. And so when we're experiencing the resistance, what I believe is it's simply our old subconscious patterns, our old subconscious programs. And in order to maintain the new life that you want, whether it's better relationships, better health, better finances, all you need to do is realign your subconscious programs and set it up for that new life. So it's almost like setting a thermostat, right? If you always lived your life at 20 degrees, it doesn't matter if someone opens the front door and cold air comes in, you'll go back to 20 degrees. Or if someone starts baking cookies, the house heats up, you'll always go back to 20 degrees because that's your subconscious program. Your subconscious program runs 95% of your daily habits, occurrences, emotions, behaviors, decisions. And so when you set up your subconscious patterns in a certain way, you'll continue to go back to that set point, like your mindset point, all the time. And so when you set that new goal, that goal that initially seems out of reach or you don't know how you're going to get it, what you need to then think about is once you've set that goal, think about what would my programs be? So how would I see myself? What would my self-image be? What would my daily habits be? What would my beliefs be? What would I no longer believe to be true? And what would my general emotions be? And when you can make that the program and pattern that you run every single day, you'll find that the goal that you set is inevitable.
So you're basically creating a future state of yourself, or what it would be like, as if, because I know that you got to act as if. It's really hard because I know, for example, and I was dabbling with this. I wanted to purchase a house in another
Hmm.
country, right? And then I
Hmm.
was like, oh, hang on a minute, but I'll just have to wait till I have a bit more finance before I make that jump, right? So
Hmm.
what, even though me thinking the future state what that would be like, it still doesn't take away. Like for me, it's like, okay, I've got an abundance of money, I've got an abundance of time, I've got abundance of freedom, but there's still that. Then how do you bridge the gap? You've got a really clear picture of your future state. How do you bridge the gap then? Like you're talking about, I love that set stage, or the set point of that 20 degrees that you speak about, that this is your place, your foundation. So how
Hmm.
do you create that? Because that's the bridge that gets you across,
Hmm.
that makes you stay there, and then that's how you obviously manifest. So what is that bridge that you create for yourself, that once you go over, you're there?
Absolutely. So, as humans, we're always drawn to what's normal and we'll continue to maintain what's normal to us. So, it's living in the place that you've always lived is normal. Making around the same amount of money that your parents made, or maybe even doing similar types of jobs as the people around you, that feels normal. And so, when you do something that maybe your parents didn't do or people in your community didn't do, it feels out of reach, but it's not that it's actually out of reach or that you can't achieve it or that you can't attain it. It's just that it hasn't been normalized to you. But our benefit is that the subconscious mind doesn't actually know the difference between real and imagined. So you can normalize it within your subconscious mind to the point that your subconscious mind feels like you've already been doing it for days, weeks, months. And then you'll start to actually feel like it's easier to make the decisions that align to that new life than the old life. So if you go in your subconscious mind every single day, maybe you're visualizing when you first wake up and when you first go to sleep, and you're visualizing yourself living in that new country. I don't know which country it is that you want to be in, but maybe you're walking to the beach in that country, or going to the clubs in that country, and you're hanging out with friends in that country, and you're driving your car along the coast in that country. When you go there in your mind every single day, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined, it thinks you live there to the point that you're going to be like, why am I still here? Why am I still here in this old place? I'm actually meant to be in that new place, like because it now feels normal. And then this is also where understanding and speaking the language of the subconscious mind comes in. So even though you and I consciously speak in words, our subconscious mind thinks in these packages of feelings, sounds, and visual. So visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So if you're trying to place a new order with your subconscious mind to believe that you can absolutely buy the house in the new country, or you can absolutely move there, it's going to be easy, you're going to have more than enough, it's going to be seamless. If you're trying to place an order and you're just saying to your mind, yeah, I live in that country, yeah, I can do it, and you're just using regular affirmations, what will happen is your critical faculty will make that bounce off of your conscious mind, and you're going to reject that information. You're going to be like, no, 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 I don't live in that country. That's just like hocus pocus. And that's why, for the majority of people, affirmations alone don't work. But when you speak the language of the subconscious mind, then you can bypass your conscious mind, which instantly rejects the information, and plant that new image or plant that new outcome in your subconscious mind. And now your subconscious mind actually believes it. And you're planting that seed, you're nourishing that seed and allowing it to come into reality in the world. And so there are different ways to reprogram our subconscious mind. We can use repetition, which is what most people do. So they try repetition through affirmations. We also learned through repetition in the first place. Like if you think about how did you learn to brush your teeth or tie your shoes or eat with a fork, it's because you watched your parents over and over and over again do it. And so that is one way to reprogram the subconscious mind, but that often takes longer. And a lot of times people just get frustrated and give up. So, some ways that are much easier or faster to reprogram the subconscious mind is one, using brainwaves. So, the majority of the day we live in beta or high beta, but when we were programmed, like in our stage of super learning from ages 0 to 7 when we were first born, we spent the majority of the day in alpha or theta brainwave state. That's why kids are able to learn like 3 languages so easily and learn how to, crawl in 6 months and then walk 6 months later, right? Like they're learning so quickly because they're in those alpha and theta brainwave states. So we can use the tool like hypnosis to bring us back into those brainwave states and then program the subconscious with those new beliefs. So those beliefs that it's easier to make money, it's easy to make healthy life choices, get fit, have the type of relationships you want, et cetera, et cetera. Another way that you can reprogram your subconscious mind is with speed. So in my certification in my programs, we use a tool called the swish pattern, where we bring up the picture of the life that you want or the behavior that you want on the screen of your mind, and we essentially swish it into your subconscious mind using speed. So we'll do it, you know, 11 times in under 15 seconds, or it's probably under like 30 seconds, swish that picture of that new life or that new behavior into the subconscious mind, because your conscious mind, or sorry, your subconscious mind can pick up on information much faster than your conscious. So now instead of repeating something for 21 days, because they say it takes 21 days to form a new habit, you can swish that into your subconscious mind 21 times in, a minute or two. And now that image and that idea is now impressed in the subconscious mind. Another way we can speak to the subconscious mind is through bypassing the conscious mind with lower sound. So a tool that I love to use that I have a lot of recordings on my YouTube is subliminals. So I'll have students listen to my subliminals, which is essentially a song or white noise with affirmations about wealth or money mindset lower than what you can consciously hear. And then people will message me being like, oh my gosh, I started getting clients out of the blue. I got a random check in the mail. All these opportunities are coming to me. I'm having all these aha moments because they're reprogramming their subconscious mind without needing to actively do anything. And then another way to speak to the subconscious mind is using the language of the subconscious mind. So like I said before, even though you and I speak in words, we think in these packages of it's like a thought package of a visual, a auditory, and a kinesthetic. There can be tastes and smells there too, but typically it's a visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And so we look at the characteristics of how you store a belief or how you store meaning to something, and we shift it to how you want to store it. So with these types of tools, someone can go from eating jelly beans nonstop or drinking Diet Coke nonstop or doing something that they don't want to do. They're continuously doing it because they're in that pattern. And we shift how their mind stores it. And all of a sudden they're like, I can't look at Diet Coke ever again. I can't look at gummy bears ever again. Or, whatever that shift is, because we change how they store it in their subconscious mind.
So when you're talking about shifting it, you're obviously looking at from turning it into something else. I mean, obviously that's a desire. And saying like I love chocolate, I love it, but you're obviously to change that belief, you have to shift the meaning that you give the chocolate, meaning that it's bad, and maybe you could like visualize or think of it, that every time you eat chocolate, you're eating smelly socks. I'm just making this up. I don't know, but
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
is that what you're doing? So you're actually giving it a different meaning. Therefore, you're activating different senses, like the feeling. So when you get the urge, it's probably more yuck than a yum. Is that right?
That's exactly how it does. And people are amazed because the shift happens in under 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so I remember a client, I think it was Coke that she wanted to no longer like. And so we were about to do she's about to do the technique with her partner. And she's like, I'm going to take one last sip because it might be the last time I drink Coke ever again. And then she went and did the technique with her, coach partner. And then after that, she almost felt like she was going to throw up because the taste of the Coke was still in her mouth. So within 5 minutes, you go from, I can't stop drinking this thing or eating this thing to, I can't even look at it anymore because of how it's stored in our subconscious.
I love that. I love that. So I want to go back
Mhm.
to what you were saying. So I get that. So you're actually looking at working with your subconscious mind. So this is what you're doing. You're reprogramming the subconscious mind as a way to change your future state, to really embed that future state. So let's talk about manifestation, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
thinking about, well, and this is only my understanding of manifestation, because you're talking about feelings before. For us to manifest, don't we need to be a vibrational match to what we want to manifest.
Mhm.
And I want to kind of really unpack that. What does that mean? Because I talk about it myself. It's like you can't be, I always say, try being upset and skipping, right? You can't be upset or
Mhm.
angry and skip, right? So
I
you're
love that.
changing, or you're tricking your mind by saying, actually, I'm not unhappy. I'm not angry. I'm like, because your mind's going, "Hey, what is Catherine doing now? She's skipping. And before she was about to throw a pan at something,
She's
right?"
punching bags.
Yes, right. So for me, I believe in the vibrational frequency. We have to be a match. But how do we do that? How do we, like, for example, if I go back to, I wanted to buy a house, this is in France, right? And then you go, oh, but
Beautiful.
I have got to be also consciously aware of money, because there's so many things outgoing for the business, let's say. So then for me, it's like
Mhm.
that, I say, just go buy it, and then the universe will support you and it will come, money will come. That's exactly what will
Mhm.
happen. But it's
Mhm.
it's in that moment when you're in that moment of doubting, is that too risky? So how do we manifest it and be that vibrational match to be in that state that you talk about? Like you can see it, you can visualize it, you can taste, you eating a croissant with a coffee, whatever that may be.
Mhm. Yeah. So our frequency aligned to our vibration is created from our emotion. So when you're asking, what is my frequency? You can simply ask, what do I feel? So if you're feeling an emotion like love, joy, happiness, playfulness, authenticity, those are all emotions that resonate at very high frequencies. So if you want to maintain a really high frequency, you want to be in that emotion. Where it's tough for a lot of people is they're like, well, I'm trying to force myself to be happy, and trying to force myself to be happy just feels like force. It just feels like I'm frustrated because something happened, someone cut me off on the road, and now I'm down here. And so, one thing that is so great about the subconscious mind, and also tied with nervous system regulation, which I love to talk about too, is when you reprogram your subconscious mind, now your subconscious mind is going to keep you at that emotional level because it runs over 95% of our daily behaviors, emotions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So rather than saying to yourself, I'm just going to be happy, I'm just going to be happy, I'm just going to be abundant, I'm just going to feel rich, you're reprogramming your subconscious mind into that identity of I am rich, I am wealthy, I am happy. And, we think over 60,000 thoughts a day. So you reprogram your subconscious mind now without you even forcing it, those 60,000 thoughts a day align to I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm skipping down the street, I'm authentic, whatever that is. And then it's easier to maintain that high emotion, AKA easier to maintain that higher frequency.
So when you say, because I know that I speak of this, when we say I want, I
Yep.
want a bigger house, I want a better relationship, aren't we projecting to the universe that we are lacking those very things?
I think that it's the emotion that you hold on to. So I don't think there's any problem with saying like, I want a bigger house or I want to make more money. But then once you've figured out what your want is or what your desire is, then how can you get into the emotions that it is already done? So it's like, okay, you want a bigger house. So think about like, okay, when you have a bigger house, what will that do for you? Well, I'll be able to entertain more people. So I'll feel more connected. I'll have more community. I will feel more at peace. I will feel more beautiful on the inside because my surroundings are more beautiful, et cetera, et cetera. So once you know what the end result would be of having that external thing, aim to generate those feelings on the inside because that will often lead to the opportunities or synchronicities that will allow you to have it on the outside. So if you start creating, even before you get the new house, if you start creating experiences that are beautiful around you, that might support your business, right? You may have people be like, oh, I want to come to a retreat with you. I want to sign up. Like, I loved how beautiful your content was. And I want to, work with you because I want to feel the way that I feel when I look at your content all the time. Again, wanting a bigger house, you said, or we said that might create more connection. So then how can you start to create more connection now? Maybe you're like saying hi to everyone in the street. Maybe you're striking up conversation with a random person at the coffee shop. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that person at the coffee shop is your next dream client, or that person at your coffee shop is really high up at a company, and now you got a corporate speaking gig for $7,000. One of the girls in my Facebook group was just talking about how she manifested out of the blue a corporate speaking gig for $7,000, right? And before she would make like 1,000 or 2,000 um, off of speaking engagement. So it's like being in that energy, it actually opens you up to more opportunities that will align you to being that person. So
Yeah.
maybe even like your house in France, I guess it depends whether you want to open up your doors to your house in France, but it's like maybe that house in France you also use as retreats. And maybe you host a beautiful retreat, you invite 10 beautiful women that pay $10,000, and there's an extra $100,000 to to pay for the down payment on your house or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you. um, I'm thinking also about quantum physics and quantum entanglement, and I just and I
Yeah.
could be wrong. Okay, so my understanding it's okay. Let's say you're an amazing manifester, right? And I'm on my track to manifesting this house in France, which I have already, by the way. But just
Oh, congrats.
just was talking about the process that I
Yeah,
went through. But so I'm in
beautiful.
this manifestation mode, and then all of a sudden, um, you start sharing your excitement with others, right? So you start telling them about, hey, this is what I got, blah blah blah. And then, to me, sometimes when you are on this path of manifestation, and then you share your ideas with somebody else, and then they might might have might be a little bit jealous, or they might go, oh, how, whatever that may be, they're unconsciously projecting their negativity onto your path. And therefore, this
Mhm.
quantum entanglement then gets in the way of your manifestation in some way, like where you hit a roadblock, or, is this how you work with quantum entanglement and quantum physics?
Mhm. So I would say, and again, like I'm not a quantum physicist, but from my understanding, the energy that is the most powerful will overcome the other energy, right? So I have heard the saying or the phrase about like, don't tell anyone your goals, don't talk about your goals, da, 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 da. Because if that person says, oh, who are you to do that? They'll bring you down. That is if you let them bring you down. But on the flip side of it, if your vision in what you're creating is stronger and your emotion in what you're creating is stronger, another few options can happen. Either you just continue anyway, you make your millions of dollars, you move to France, you do your retreat, you start your startup, whatever it is, and they just stay in the same place. Or your energy is so powerful and they're continuing to put their attention on what you're doing. They look at you and they say, oh my gosh, look at what Catherine's doing. She said she was going to do this thing and now she's actually doing it. And there's a possibility there that you actually bring their energy up and they turn around and say, thank you so much for going after your dreams, regardless of the haters at me, because now you've actually inspired me to improve my life. I remember when I was first starting Yes Supply and getting going with everything, I had the thoughts of like, because I was working in fashion. And so it's like, looking cool in fashion, whatever. And I remember thinking, what are people from high school going to think for me? Are they going to judge me? Or what are people from my like job going to think of me? Are they going to judge me or think? I remember always being so worried that people would think I'm cheesy because I'm like, quote, cheesy because I'm putting like motivational quotes online. But there's a girl from my high school who actually has joined my program, graduated from my program, and is our biggest like cheerleader. Like she's always talking about us, always referring people to us. So it's like, it's not that people from high school will judge you. Maybe people from high school actually be your best clients. And then two people from my old fashion job have worked for me. So my old manager at my fashion job, who I always thought was super cool, she used to be my assistant. And another incredible coworker that I had at that fashion job, she now works on my team and she's my lead trainer. So rather than one thing that we can do is rather than expecting like the worst case scenario of people saying they're going to judge us, they're going to bring us down, da da da. Let's also give ourselves space to imagine what's the best case scenario. Maybe they'll buy my products. Maybe they'll work on my team. Maybe they'll be my biggest affiliate. Like we never know. And the best thing that we can do is expect the best case scenario because on that topic of quantum field, everything like that, there's that incredible double slit experiment and the observer effect that's shown that when human consciousness observes a certain situation or experience, that observation alone makes the wave function, that superposition that could be millions of possibilities, collapse into the particle that is what we see in our external reality. So if we're going to expect something that is unknown, it's so much more valuable for us to expect the best case scenario rather than the worst.
I so agree with that. I always say, look at any area of your life. If there's any area of your life that you're not happy with, have a look externally, because what is going on in your external world is an example of what's going on inside of your internal world. And so the
I
changes
agree.
is, you can't change external. You need to change in here, change the way that you think, change the way that you feel, change the way that you process or experience things, because it's the meaning we give every situation to how we either going to respond or react and create our reality in that way. Is that right?
Totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. Because two
Yes.
people can go through the exact same thing and have a completely different experience. So you're so right. It's all about the meaning we apply to it.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you were talking about, because this happened to me as well. I steered away from social media for such a long time, especially videos. I ended up, because of exactly that same thing. What will people think of me? All of us, and it is, and I think
Mhm.
it's important for everyone to hear this, because when they see people like you or I or anybody else, they think that they don't realize that we too had to go through, show up, regardless if we had that strong inner critic or that self-doubt or the imposter syndrome. It's just about showing up and just doing the work, regardless
Yeah.
of what you experience. I mean, we all go through that, and I love the fact that you brought that up, because it makes everything so human, right? So they see you as a human, see me as a human, and see it as a normal thing, which I think is really
Mhm.
important. I did want to touch on hypnosis. You talked about hypnosis and self-hypnosis. So talk us through, hypnosis obviously done with somebody else, or I know there's some great recordings that you can listen to, but also, how do we do the self-hypnosis piece?
Yeah, absolutely. So we teach hypnosis in my coaching certification, and yeah, it's a great thing for hypnotherapists to package up hypnosis audio and have for sale as passive income or give to their clients. So that is so fantastic because someone can literally listen to it and then wake up the next day and be like, "Oh, I'm feeling different. I'm acting different. I'm behaving different." So hypnosis can be used for weight loss, for quitting smoking, for shifting money mindsets in every area of life. If somebody wants to do self hypnosis, a great time to do it is actually right before bed because you are naturally going from the beta brainwave state through alpha, theta, and delta. And so, what you can do right before bed is just, lie in your bed and try to get each of your body parts to relax. So, start relaxing at your head, down through your neck, your shoulders, your torso, your legs, all the way down to your feet, aiming to be very relaxed. And then either have a recording that you've recorded yourself in your phone or any type of tech device, or even just saying the affirmations to yourself that it is that you want to believe, and then just let yourself drift off to sleep. One thing that's really important, which is why, if someone is really interested in hypnosis, I definitely recommend going through some kind of hypnosis training. If not, yes, apply method certification, then something, is because when you go through hypnosis training, you learn how to make suggestions to the subconscious mind. Because our subconscious mind, it's almost like a child, it takes everything literally. And so a lot of the time when someone wants to change their life, they might use the wrong language that actually makes the situation worse. So I'll give you an example. Let's just say somebody is in debt and they want to start making $100,000 a year. Some people in the situation, they might say, I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of debt. But because the subconscious mind doesn't process negations, all they're doing is impressing debt, 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 debt into their subconscious mind and actually making things worse. And so I want like anyone who's thinking of doing this to just think about my subconscious mind. It takes whatever I say literally. So if I say, don't think of the blue elephant, you can't help but think of a blue elephant. So make sure that you say it how you want it. So and you want to get out of debt, let's just say you're $40,000 in debt and you want to have $110,000, rather than saying, I want to get out of $40,000 in debt, say, I want to make $100,000 or I'm earning $100,000 or $100,000 is showing up for me so that you're impressing $100,000 into your subconscious mind instead. that make sense? Am I like explaining it correctly? Yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So say it how you want it because the subconscious mind will only understand the picture that you're delivering to it or the words that you're saying to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like one of our clients wanted to give up smoking, and all they thought about was, I want to give up smoking. Starting
Yep.
Monday, I'm going to give up smoking. And then it came Monday, Catherine, I am craving cigarettes like no other. It's because all she was doing is thinking about, I want to give up smoking. So it
Yeah.
was like, what do you want to do instead? What are you going to replace
Yeah.
this habit with instead? And so every time you had the trigger, oh, I feel like a cigarette, it would have been either after work or having a drink after work was the trigger. What would you do instead? So it was about focusing on going for a walk. So it's moving away from what she didn't want rather than, because you're right. You're actually betting and activating it even more by thinking about what you don't want.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you said you gave her options, even in therapy. Like I'm not a therapist, but as therapists, they tell therapists if you're gonna take something away, it's not ethical to not replace it with something else. So it's like, okay, take out the smoking. Now it's have a drink of water, take a deep breath, go for a walk, replace it with something else because if not, then you're leaving that gap open.
Yeah, 100%. So you're I would say an expert in manifestation. What is your trick? Like, what's a day in a life with Reese?
Yeah. So I have a 5-step manifestation process that I've used over the years that helped me manifest so many different things and help my clients as well. And so how I developed it was literally anytime I would manifest something, I think back to myself and say, what did I do to get here? And so it always starts off with the goal, getting clear on what it is that you want. So not guilting yourself about wanting something more, like your beautiful house in France. I'm so excited for you. Not guilting yourself about wanting more, but knowing that the fact that you want it, it means that you're meant to have it. And you can actually create more and give more by you having more too. So you ask yourself the question, what would you ask for if you knew the answer was going to be yes? And give yourself permission to dream. And once you're clear on what that would look like, what that would feel like, how you would experience it, from there, that can help you start to create the subconscious program. So I'm always doing my own subconscious reprogramming work. So I get to the point that that thing, that goal that felt too big or too far away actually feels totally normal to me. So the first thing that I'm doing is I am often using a tool called single belief change, where I can take something that feels like it's really far away and make it feel like it's normal. Then after that, I'm thinking about identity. So I'm asking myself, okay, the version of me who already lives this life, who am I? How do I see myself? What's my self image? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about the world around me? And I'm reprogramming that into my subconscious mind as well, using NLP, hypnosis, EFT tapping, subliminals, so that I feel like I'm that person when I look in the mirror, regardless of what the external world looks like. Next is habits. Um, so I'm looking at, okay, the version of me who already has this, how do I spend my day, right? We were talking before about like how we don't very often watch TV. And a big thing for me is like, I don't want to watch someone else living their dream life on a screen. I want to go out and live my own dream life. So if you think about the version of you who's already living your dream life, you wouldn't even want to look at anyone else. You would just want to be enjoying your own dream life. So it's like, what are you doing? Are you going to Pilates? Are you traveling? Are you spending time with your family? Are you working on things that change the world and impact the world and sharing your story? So thinking about those things and making sure that you're actioning them, because with manifestation, sometimes things can just show up out of the blue and it's so beautiful when those synchronicities happen, but sometimes it's actually our actions that are the external representation of us being the energetic match for that frequency, right? So it's not just even thinking on that energetic frequency, but it's like the action that you take, you're reflecting, yes, I am that person through who I'm being. And then what typically happens when you start to show up as that person and take the actions, what starts to happen is a lot of limiting beliefs come up and limiting emotions come up. So you become aware of those things, you become aware of the resistance, and you recognize like this fear that it's going to go wrong or this resistance, it's not actually truth. It's just my old program trying to pull me back into who I used to be. And when I can release that, I can actually expand into who I'm meant to be. So becoming aware of the things that might trigger you, those that dysregulated nervous system, those limiting emotions, limiting decisions, and just bringing them to the surface, recognizing them, processing them, and releasing them, not letting them continue to hold you back for weeks or months or years. And then step 5 is your expectant state. So living in that expectant energy, knowing it's already done. It's like if I sent you a check for $1 million, you would just know, okay, it's coming, it's in the mailbox. Even if it's not in the mailbox today, it's on the way, and you're living your life in that positive expectant energy.
So I love that. Thank you very much. And so is that something you do only when you're trying to manifest something, or is this a daily practice for you?
It's a daily practice. So essentially, I'm always clear on what my next version of yes is. And I'm always clear on who am I as that person. And then I'm aiming to stay in that vibration the majority of my day, because I don't believe that we're just like speaking to the universe in the 20 minutes when we do our morning ritual. I believe that we're speaking to the universe in who we're being throughout the whole day. Now, everyone has ups and downs, everyone has bad days, and I think that that's totally okay. Um, but it's, gaining that awareness of, like, if it's something like grieving or something like that, that's totally normal. That's part of the human experience, and definitely leave space for that. But if it's like, someone was kind of rude to you at the coffee shop and then you're letting it take up your whole day, that might be something to look at and say, where is there maybe some unprocessed emotions that I can release? And so what I'm aiming to do is be that person throughout my day with those habits throughout my day. And what I found is that that makes my success inevitable.
Yeah, I
And
love.
so when I wake up in the morning and I think about like what's my morning ritual, it changes from day to day depending on when I wake up and I think, what do I need in this day? Like if I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling amazing. I do my gratitude practice. So I do it with my kids. I was doing it with my kids this morning of like, what are you we were playing with our Paw Patrols, and I was like, Chase, what are you grateful for? Rocky, I'm grateful for this. So doing my gratitude practice and incorporating it in my day, because I am a mom of a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. And then when I'm recognizing that there's like a big trigger or some thoughts that are going through my head that aren't supporting me, giving myself time and space, and I will do whatever technique that I need in that moment. So maybe it's EFT tapping that I integrate into my day a lot too. Maybe it's neural energetic encoding, so releasing an emotion at the root cause. So I kind of self assess myself and then see what I need and do the subconscious reprogramming technique for that so that I can spend the majority of my day in that aligned frequency of the life I want.
What's what did you say? Neural energetic encoding? What's that?
Neural energetic encoding. So it is inspired by an NLP tool where we use time. So even if you can't remember what you ate for breakfast yesterday, your subconscious mind actually stores a complete record of the past. It can remember a conversation that happened while you were in the womb or when you were 2 years old. And then there's actually studies suggesting that we actually hold on to emotions and decisions from past generations. And so what we do is we bring up how your subconscious mind stores the past, and we release the root cause of whatever emotion or decision is holding you back. So let's just say someone has so much fear. They're like, I really want to do live streams or webinars, but I have so much fear and it's holding me back. We will find the root cause of it. It might be the show and tell that they did when they were in grade 1 and the class laughed at them, so they never want to do a show and tell again. What I find with a lot of my clients is they actually go back to a past generation or a past life, and just this is a pattern that I've seen with a lot of my clients. They find that they were a witch in a past life. And so in the past life, they were wanting to, or past generation, they were wanting to heal people. And then because they were wanting to help and heal people, they were burned at the stake. That fear was stored. And now, even in 2023 or 2024, they're equating helping people and healing people with death. So, of course, your subconscious mind is going to be like, we're not really going to go there. But if you can release that fear, then you realize, oh, I actually love doing live streams. I love showing up. I love doing webinars. I love sharing my message, because that deep rooted fear that you didn't know where it came from is now released. We recently had a student named Desiree. You can find her testimonial on my YouTube channel. She was trying to get pregnant for 8 years and was unable to get pregnant. And she used neural energetic encoding, and she went back to a time when she was in the womb and her mom was going through a certain fear. and she released that, and she actually got pregnant in our program.
That's amazing. It sounds a
Mhm.
little bit like timeline therapy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is highly inspired by timeline therapy, or how I learned it is time techniques. But what I've done is I've updated it because, NLP was created in the 70s. And so even though it's fantastic, it wasn't really designed for working online as well as working in always like inclusive, trauma sensitive ways. So we have a really great neuroscientist on our team, and we also worked with a DEI specialist and made some updates so that if someone is coming from a highly traumatic background, they're not dropped into something, and it's a lot more effortless to make the changes.
It sounds fascinating because I know I've been looking into ancestral trauma, and
Mhm.
my grandfather's parents were murdered. What they did is they were
Mm, oh my
saving money. They were
gosh.
coming to see their son, and they were saving lots of money. They were living in a small village in Italy, and of course, it got around, and a guy went in and murdered them both, took the money. And
Oh
so
my gosh.
you can see the patterning with my mother and my brother and my sister and I. There's this thing about money. We just give it away, or we're always. It's funny. We're always having arguments over money, or
Right.
just it's almost. But when I looked into it, I was like, no wonder that trauma has been passed down our generation,
Yeah.
which is really interesting to go into. So kind of like when you were talking about it, the neuroenergetic
Encoding.
coding.
Yeah.
It can go in other generations. It's not just this lifetime, like you were saying. It's
Exactly.
other lifetimes even.
Yeah, because it sounds like your subconscious mind is equating keeping money with being a threat. Because you
Yeah,
never know if you have it in your house. Like, obviously, it's not going to happen, but subconsciously, that belief is still there. So I think you would definitely benefit from either timeline therapy or some kind of regression technique or neural energetic encoding to release that, because then you
yeah.
can break that pattern for you and also for future generations.
Oh, 100%, because I know that we're always like giving money away. We're always like, it's like, but I know it's like we must think money is dangerous, and that because
Yeah.
we're going to lose our life if we have money in our possession, and we're all the same. It's really interesting. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely look at that. That could be very healing for your family.
Yeah. So I just want to, before we go into I'm conscious of your time. Before we go into our three shiny golden nuggets, the yes, saying yes to everything. What happens, right? Because I am the yes woman. And I think we were
Mhm.
talking about people pleasing before we came on the show, recovering people
Yes.
pleaser. What about when you do say yes to everything? Don't you ever get run down, burn out, overwhelmed, stressed, exhausted, and then your vibrational frequency is not as high as you want it to be? How does that work?
Yeah. So yes supply isn't about saying yes to everything. I wish we all had 64 hours in the day, but we absolutely don't. It is about saying yes to yourself, saying yes to that nudge that's pulling you to your greater level of yourself, whether it's like the fitness you want, the health that you want, the relationship that you want, the money, business, finances that you want. But I would say it's definitely not about saying yes to everything. And you might actually find you have to say no to more things than you say yes to, because, um, you know, when you're growing, I'm sure you've experienced this as a business owner. Everyone, like, I want to pick your brain for I want to take you out for coffee and pick your brain. I want to do this collaboration with you. Da, 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 da. And because you're rising up to what it is that you want. So it really is about being true to what your unique yes is, and saying yes to that and going after it, even when you don't know the how. Um, Giving yourself permission to grow, giving yourself permission to develop, giving yourself permission to ask for more, and also giving yourself permission to say, I'm sorry, but I don't have time for this other thing because I know that I'm meant for this and that.
I'm glad you cleared that up because I was thinking about,
Yeah.
I'm going, how
No
do you
harm.
do it? You just say yes to everything, and then how do you keep your vibrational
Yeah.
frequency high when really you're exhausted because you've said yes to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big. We were talking about this before too. We should have just recorded that pre-conversation because it was good. But I'm really big on the scale of consciousness from David R. Hawkins' books that he
Yes.
talks about,
Yeah. Yeah.
muscle testing, right? So we were talking before the show about how I pretty much use intuition for all of my decisions. And
Yeah.
I'm constantly muscle testing. I'm constantly going inwardly kinesthetic and asking myself, does this decision feel lighter, more expansive? Does it feel good? Or does it feel like negative, lower vibration, obligation? That's a big one. I think if we say yes to something out of obligation, it will just lead to more situations of obligation. So yeah, I'm constantly thinking about that scale of consciousness and what emotions align that are love and above, like 500 and above. Love, play, peace, joy, authenticity, and aiming to make decisions or say yes to the things that align with that, even if maybe it might disappoint someone or someone might not approve. And yeah, unfortunately for some, I'm saying no to things that I can't do it all. I'm one human.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't do muscle testing as in muscle, you do internal, intuitive.
I do I know about this style of muscle testing, but I'm just more feeling
Yeah.
in my body. But it was a process to get to it. How I started with muscle testing was I would like stand up and I would test what makes me feel stronger, what makes me fall back and feel weaker. But now I learned about it in I think 2016 or 2017. Now I just feel and then I just go and do the thing.
Yeah, we do a big piece on. We've got a coaching academy and we do positive psychology. We talk about archetypes, which I told you about, but we use intuitive intelligence and we do it within an internal guide as well. So what's your
Beautiful.
yes, what's your no? That's how it like using it like a
Yeah.
pendulum, but you're actually using your physical body, your intuitive intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that so much. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, Reese, I know it's our time is almost up. So, the way that we wrap
Oh,
up the show, my darling, is we always love to ask our guests to leave 3 shiny gold nuggets for our audience. So, what would be those 3 shiny gold nuggets that you would like to leave for our audience today?
I think a big one is sharing how the language of the subconscious mind works. So, what I would invite everyone to do is think of your goal, not a goal that, you think you can get based on, your degree or your past, but a goal that would actually really light you up. Maybe it's moving to a new country, doubling how much money you make or 10xing how much money you make, something completely that seems kind of out of reach, but you would love for that to happen. And I invite you to think of that goal that it is that you want. And when you think of it, ask yourself, do you have the picture of that and add to that picture to make it more clear and more real to you. So if you imagine a dial just below that picture, ask yourself, is that picture black and white or color? And then go ahead and move that dial, whether it's black and white or color, to make it feel more real. And then take the size of that and go ahead and make it bigger and ask yourself, does that make it feel more real and achievable to you or make it smaller? And then keep it at the size that it allows it to feel more real. And then move that picture around. So if it's at the left or the right or the middle, move that picture around to a place where it feels really real, or even wrap it around your whole body if that's supportive of you. And also play with bringing it closer and further. So if it's closer, does that picture make it feel more real? Or if it's further away? And just play with that spacing to allow it to feel more real. When it feels really real, you could say to yourself, it is done. And that's a great little exercise to do to play with the language of how our subconscious mind stores thoughts, meanings, goals, etc., and make something that maybe used to feel far away feel actually more real and attainable. So I would say that's one exercise or one golden nugget. Another golden nugget, we didn't talk about it too much, but one thing I love to do in collaboration with subconscious reprogramming is nervous system regulation. So a tool that I really love from NLP is called havening. So if you have a thought that keeps coming up for you that is triggering for you, or maybe you just struggle with feeling anxious and you want something to do on repeat to retrain your nervous system to feel regulated, I love doing havening. So it's very simple. I think anyone can do it unless you're driving a car. Save this for later if you're driving because you need your hands. But you cross your arms and essentially give yourself a hug. And if you're lying down, I often do this in bed, you cross your legs as well. And so with the bilateral movement, it helps both sides of your brain better communicate. And so just give yourself a hug, rub your arms up and down. And then one thing that you can add to it is actually looking in opposite direction. So looking to the left, then looking to the right, looking to the top left, then looking to the bottom right, looking to the bottom left, and looking to the top right. And just kind of continue to move your eyes back and forth. And what you'll find is this is signaling to your brain, you're looking in all different directions, you're crossing your arms with those bilateral movements, and you're teaching your brain, okay, I am safe right here. And what will start to happen if you do this on repeat, try it for a few days, try it for a week, you'll find that that thought that used to bring up emotions has dulled quite a bit and isn't stimulating you into that parasympathetic nervous system as deeply. That's a tool that I really love.
That's beautiful. That's second one. And third.
The third, um, the third, I was going to explain how the language of how the subconscious mind works. And we already talked about it, but I'll repeat it just in case, because actually it is a good takeaway to move forward with. So even though we speak in words, our subconscious mind thinks in these thought packets of a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And so if you feel like you keep saying to yourself an affirmation of change that you want, like I've got to quit smoking, I've got to lose weight, I got to make more money, and it's not changing, know that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're perfectly whole, that you're perfectly okay, you're perfectly human, and you're doing the best that you can. And maybe just do one thing each day that helps you understand the language of the subconscious mind. Because again, if you're feeling frustrated with yourself that you're not moving forward, it's not you. It's just that our subconscious mind thinks in this certain way. And so using these somatic tools, using the way that we're actually reprogrammed with brainwave patterns, with subliminals, which I have for free on my YouTube channel as well. These can all help you make the changes that you're wanting. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, I wish everyone learned how to use the manual to their subconscious mind, because it's the most powerful supercomputer that we have, and it's something that many of us aren't taught.
Yeah, I know. There's something, I think it's something should be taught at school, which we don't learn at school,
I
which is so
agree.
important.
I
So,
totally agree.
yeah. Reese, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's been so much fun. And I love everything that you spoke about today. And I know that our tribe will as well. So thank you for your time, your energy, and sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a great time chatting with you.
Thank you.